I've seen a lot of crazy Republicans in the political landscape. I've seen Ted Cruz, I've seen Donald Trump, I've seen Mitt Romney, but the sad thing is they try not to be on the internet. But no one really comes close as Lauren Boebert, a representative for Colorado's 3rd Congressional District, has somehow got voted in because she owns the libs. Yeah, sadly, that's all the Republican parties care about right now. Anyway, she's basically been a huge gun rights activist who would literally do anything, and I mean anything, to protect the gun rights of white Americans, just like the 44% of other Republicans.
I vote and don't regret them because I read the bills and understand them. But what I heard, sir, is you are corrupt. You've corrupted our kids, and your votes are literally killing people. Denver's chief of police, who asked about you decriminalizing fentanyl, said that the effect is people are dying. And before you voted about it, you were warned about it. CBS 4 reported, quote, many district attorneys generals begged lawmakers to carve out fentanyl when they passed this in 2019. But you voted yes. And you know another thing that you voted yes for was to remove qualified immunity from our local law enforcement. Not only are they more in danger from the illegal invasion that is taking place in our country, but right here in Colorado, our law enforcement officers no longer have qualified immunity because he voted for an anti-police bill.
Wow, so this is the type of person we're dealing with. She's like the right-wing version of that red-haired feminist in Canada that shut down a men's right activist group. Isn't it kind of sickening how divisive we are amongst the political spectrum? And this isn't just the right, this is also the left. We automatically think just because someone is a right-winger, we don't have to make friends with them. The same goes for the right-wingers. You know, we can't ever come to a middle ground and say maybe there are some gun control that we could have, you know, just to prevent shooters like these from getting guns. But of course, they automatically think that just because we want some gun control, this automatically means you're anti-gun! And these people are so stupid that they don't realize that this is a problem in America. Like the fact that our country has the most mass shootings in the world is just sad. Along with that, our country has the most firearm homicides in the developed world. And by the way, this is not me pushing an agenda. These are statistical, evidential facts. But anyway, if you actually go to Lauren's Twitter account, she probably has some of the most cringiest tweets I've ever seen. I mean, at least for Donald Trump, we all know he was stupid. But Lauren is just a whole different level of stupid. And I'm going to read you each of these because I'm a masochist and I love torturing myself for your entertainment. And also, I'm going to go along and debunk each of them.
Did Joe Biden conduct background checks on Talibans before he gave them countless guns, tanks, and ammunition?
And of course, she's going to talk about how Joe Biden approved the Iraq War. I'm going to say, yes, Joe Biden was an idiot for approving the Iraq War. But I don't think he, or anyone for that matter, can control the policies of that region. Sorry, but that just doesn't happen. And the reason that we want to do background checks in this country, because I don't know if you noticed, Lauren, but once again, mass shootings are a problem in America. My biggest problem with this tweet is that this is a red herring. The fact that Biden was probably talking about putting some gun control and you decide to bring up the Taliban for no reason is just kind of stupid, don't you think?
Take your children to church, not drag bars.
Oh yes, the obvious homophobia. First off, I don't think children can enter bars, unless it's a kid's bar, but that's totally different. Secondly, you're acting like gay people are bad for kids, when in reality, if you teach kids about there are different types of people in this world, it helps them accept those type of people. Like, yeah, there are also appropriate ways to have a conversation with your children about gay people.
When you promote open borders, you promote this.
And it talks about a news where an illegal immigrant molested a 14-year-old disabled child. Despite the fact that many studies have shown that legal immigrants and U.S. citizens are more likely to commit crime than undocumented immigrants, but yeah, this one undocumented immigrant pretty much tells the story of all of them. And isn't it the case that whites commit the majority of sexual assaults in America, but this one illegal pretty much represents the majority of illegals? And despite the fact that many studies have shown that illegal immigrants do boost the economy of the United States, but you know, the hell with facts, we just got a bad feeling about them.
To those on the left that love to preach about rights being taken away, please understand that unless you are one of the elites at top, they're coming for your rights too. Stop and think about that before you keep striking about free speech speech and the Second Amendment.
I'd like to quote something by another Twitter user, and freedom isn't owning 25 rifles, it's going to the grocery store and not having to worry about being killed by one. And I find it funny that you people love to talk about elites when the NRA happens to be an elite, and they lobby millions of dollars to make sure you people don't have any gun control policy. Like, even if we push for a policy where we say we're not even here to take away your guns, we just want to promote background checks so crazy people won't get guns. And I'm okay with that. I don't know why others would think they're not. And I get it, people like you love to talk about the Second Amendment, but also there are people dying, and a lot of people are not okay with it.
Using the Affordable Care Act to pay for illegal aliens' health care is not only wrong, it's illegal. My colleague and I are fighting back.
Well, first off, illegal immigrants are not even allowed to get health care. You could literally go to healthcare.gov and check it out for yourself. Secondly, why is this a bad thing to you? Because once again, illegal immigrants do benefit the economy a lot. Like seriously, keeping human beings alive and not suffering is somehow wrong? Like, can I just say Lauren Boebert is a confirmed xenophobe by now? And for those saying, oh no, come on, she's only talking about illegal immigrants, not legal ones. But again, how do you identify who's an illegal immigrant and who's not?
When President Trump wanted to spend $25 billion to build a wall to protect America, Democrats said no. Now that Ukraine needs to protect its borders, Congress sends them $40 billion. America first.
Last I checked, America wasn't being invaded by a foreign nation. Of course, unless you consider illegal immigrants invaders, which, again, they're not. And let's not forget this thing that Trump said.
And Mexico will pay for the wall.
Looks like that didn't work out.
The whole dangerous to our democracy crowd needs to get it through their minds that America is a constitutional republic.
Every time someone says this, it makes me croak. And you know what the worst part? Most of them can't even define what constitutional republic means. But you know what? I'm going to, because I feel like it's important for people to understand. A constitutional republic means that one in which, rather than governing directly, the people select some of their members to temporarily serve the political office. And by the way, Lauren, how do we select these people? Through voting. And by the way, she was talking about the issue of Roe v. Wade being repealed. Like a woman shouldn't have the right to abort a baby if they want. This is why I say the left supports more important freedom than the right. I'm an elected official, and I support an assault weapon ban. Pass on it.
Most predators prefer defenseless victims, so no surprise here.
Then again, you probably would know something about that, wouldn't you? If you're wondering, back when she was 16, her husband was 24, and they had sex at that age.
Democrats' policy position: let us tax money you don't have yet. Let us indoctrinate your kids on sexuality at 5 years old. Let us kill your kids up to the day of birth. Let us inject you with vaccines or you'll lose your job.
Okay, I'm going to respond to these one by one. Firstly, let us tax money you don't have. Well, we do have a progressive income tax system. Depending on how much money you make will depend on how much you get taxed. If you don't make as much money, you don't get enough taxes. And the second one, you realize we're not really forcing sexuality on them, we're just teaching them, hey, these type of people exist. And no, we're not going to talk about anal sex. There's an age-appropriate conversation you can have about that. Also, it's not like they're going to turn gay once they say gay people exist, or trans for that matter. And the third one, well, you can't really have an abortion within 9 months. And let's say that the baby is born. Are you going to make sure that that baby has food, clothes, and shelter? And again, these are things that most Republicans happen to oppose. Finally, you realize millions of people got infected with coronavirus, right? Also, last I checked, the government doesn't interfere with private industries. Aren't you opposing the freedom of the company to do what they want? What about you, Lauren? Haven't you made that Islamophobic speech on Ilhan Omar? Aren't you pretty extreme?
Actually, I have an Ilhan story for you. So, the other night on the House floor was not my first Jihad Squad moment.
To be clear, she did apologize for it, even though it's pretty obvious she's just doing it to get the press off her back. But hey, I really appreciate you letting us know your thoughts and mindset about your fellow colleagues. Like, if I were to do that in my workplace, I would be fired on the spot. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I honestly don't understand how this woman got voted in. I mean, all because she triggers the libs? Is that your specific reason of how you vote for politicians these days? Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert are examples of how America is fading into far-right extremism. She, along with the rest of the Republicans, have been the group of people like they're the dividing factor of the middle ground. They're the examples of the left and right not being able to find a middle ground, because they are one of the groups of people that want to divide us. Anyway, people, be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe, and wow, third video in 3 weeks.